Right. Well, thank you, everybody, for those topics. Let's open up to some brief Q&A from the audience. And we've had a nice dialogue already, but if someone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Oh, Mara.
So what's better, like individual site reviews or like integrating with like a Yelp or Google Plus? And like, I guess what's more beneficial for like Google?
You mean for your own site or on Sparefoot or?
Yeah, like StoreQuest on Sparefoot.
What we always tell people is you should get as many reviews on your own site as you can, on Yelp as you can, but also try to get as many as you can from your Sparefoot customers on Sparefoot. So you know who your Sparefoot customers are. Have your managers encourage them to go leave a review on Sparefoot. We're going to email them anyway, but extra encouragement is good because the more you have on Sparefoot, the better you'll do on Sparefoot. But also, we always say you need to go do it elsewhere as well.
So that's just going to be how good we can do on Sparefoot, but I mean, does that really factor into like the Google algorithm?
Yeah, our reviews don't go elsewhere.
So yeah, your question, what's better for Google? Google's better for Google. They want to see the reviews there. And then
Meaning they want to see Google Plus reviews.
Google Plus reviews. Yeah. I mean, that's what's best for Google. Now, I'll also say though that if I Google your brand, there's going to be 15 things that come up. And those are a lot of those things, the Yelps, the Google Pluses, the Sparefoots are going to have the star ratings associated. They're utilizing schema format, so you can pull in your own star reviews. So a user is not only going to see the Google Plus review, they're going to see several other sites with reviews. I would recommend at least looking at consistency with that. If you've got one site that has 1-star reviews and then other sites that have 5-star reviews, there's a discrepancy there, right? But Google will always benefit Google.
Mm-hmm. I believe, David, you had a question.
Yes, I was going to say with regard to online bookings, I think people are much more inclined to book online when they have a good idea of what it is they're actually booking. So lots of people, just about everybody, books flights online and they'll book a hotel online because they understand the difference between booking a Marriott and a Four Seasons.
Yep.
But when you come to say plumbers, I don't think people would book a plumber online because those tend to be small local operators, and it could be somebody who's great, it could be somebody who's useless. So when people have a better understanding of what it is they're booking, they're much more likely to book online. So as the industry consolidates and merges down to fewer and fewer brands, once you get down to 8 car hire companies, then I think people are very willing to book online. But I don't think somebody's going to book for, Jim self-storage in Tallahassee. They don't know anything about it. Then they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they perceive it just be the same as everybody else, then fine. But once you get down to, say, 8 or 10 brands in self-storage, then people will understand the difference between, say, StoreQuest and public storage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would argue that that's the whole point of Sparefoot for consumers, is to show you all of these options that you didn't know exist and let you actually compare the real differences between those properties and see the difference between a Class A, really nice property with great reviews and some, dump in the middle of nowhere that's not going to be so nice. You can see that in the photos, you can see that in the reviews, you can see that in the features, you can see that in the prices. All that stuff is there for you to compare.
Right, which interesting point, which I don't know if the audio picked up, and I want this to be for our YouTube video that we'll post later about this, is that the audience question or comment was that perhaps people aren't booking online because they book for something they know, and they book with a brand that they know, a Marriott, a United Airlines, a Ritz-Carlton. They get those distinctions so they can book it and do it. But with self-storage, I think there are 2 layers to it. One, you were suggesting that, well, it's very local. Are they going to go to Joe Blow Self-Storage in Tallahassee? That may be something that may give them more pause than Public Storage or Extra Space, something, a huge brand. And if there's consolidation of the industry, that might benefit booking online. But I think the consolidation might take a very long time because it's still so highly fragmented. But it actually brings up another issue, which is perhaps, as we all know, only, the penetration in the US is probably 1 in 11 Americans actually, use or have used self-storage. So the question is if, since it's a new and foreign concept, then perhaps that's what is preventing people from moving in online. And perhaps the online process for storage companies on their websites, in their mobile apps, perhaps for us in our websites, our companies, that if we can better educate consumers on what those salient points are about their business. I mean, for instance, at storage, one of the most frequently asked questions is, how long is my contract for? Well, can I move at any time? Or am I locked in for a year? I mean, they think it's an apartment lease. It's for a year. They really don't know what we know, which is, hey, it's month to month, right? And so maybe that's, sort of the movement or moment, which is to know what that information is. Nick, you touched on size guide, right? We've all seen the video, the sort of scary videos of like, what does it look like when you go into a storage unit, right? But the question is what, maybe you guys can just briefly say, what are the sort of 3 most important informational points that a customer needs to be able to, think like, okay, this is a place where I want to rent storage?
Well, we actually, the number one thing that we see, well, there's 2 things that we see consumers that they most oftenly, is the most important to them when they're trying to select a storage unit. Location, obviously, and then the other thing, because they think they're going to access it all the time, which we all know isn't necessarily the case, but that is important in their buying decision. And then the other thing usually is just the unit type. We actually see price as being the 3rd or 4th thing that consumers typically will base their decision
And when
on.
you say unit type, meaning size or like upper, lower, locker, drive up, swing
type-
door?
Yep, exactly. So it could be a variety of those things. I mean, it could be a climate unit, it could be location of the unit on the property, where it's at. Is it, hidden back in a corner? Is it accessible? Is there, close to an elevator? I mean, all those things all play into it. So we get asked a lot of questions. Can I drive right up to the unit? Can I have 24/7 access? Because again, they think they're going to access it all the time. So it's all just, part of their buying decision. So a lot of times, price is one of the 3rd or 4th things that we see being important.
How would you rank them, Chris?
Well, I would agree with Nick. The one other thing, though, about the leasing piece, I think in storage right now, most companies that are doing leasing, they've just digitized their leasing process. So you've got this 9-10-step process at the property that you're going through, and all you've done is you've made it a PDF and you've digitized it. I think there's a simpler way to go through it and to take not just the property process into it, but really look at an experience for a user and the tool that they're using, the phone, the tablet, the computer, whatever it is. But so that's kind of an answer to your question of how that would work. But I agree with Nick. I think that there's, really it's the access pieces. It's having the availability and understanding. Photos are huge. Getting the sense of the property and then reading the reviews as well.
Right. So it's maybe helping them, they can complete the 9-step process when they get to the store, but they do a preliminary process that does that transaction online. It commits them more heavily, but it's a simplified
it's
process.
got to be simple. It's got to be simple.
Yeah, and part of that's just all the laws, the legal processes behind a self-storage unit. Chuck, top 3 things you think that customers are asking for, want to know before they can make that decision online?
For us, it's distance price reviews.
Okay. Yep. Great. Any other questions from the audience?
Question about reviews, because you guys all kind of touched on it a little bit. The consistency, of course, between 1 stars, 5 stars. How do you legitimize consistent 4.5, 5-star ratings? People are a little cynical and they think, okay, they've just gotten all their friends and their family members to write all these 5-star reviews. They're not real. How do you legitimize really high ratings when they're consistent?
So there's one of 2 ways, and this way 1 is a little bit weird, but if you have a negative review and a bunch of positive reviews, it legitimizes your positive reviews.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And then the other way is you just have a ton of positive reviews.
And I would agree with the latter on that. If you've got all your positive reviews from June 12th and there's like 20 of them, I think it's your family immediately. I mean, you have a reaction to everything that you see. So if it's consistent and you've got them across the board over a period of time, I think you legitimize those reviews just by having those extra data sets.
When you see a lot of positive reviews come in a short amount of time, it immediately throws up a red flag.
See on Amazon products.
Yep.
A fair bit. And
Yeah.
that's the ones that I immediately start, but
Yep.
consistently over time have
Right.
5-star ratings and time.
Right.
Time helps.
Yep, and I should have clarified a little bit earlier when I said that. I said, you don't want to have all 5-star reviews. What I meant was you don't want to have your friends and family and peers go out and just, within 2 weeks, all of a sudden you have 50 positive 5-star reviews out there because it isn't, you know, it doesn't look like it's real.
Great. Any other questions? Okay.
So Chuck, you said that you're kind of going after like small operators, like small mom and pop. So how difficult is it kind of, if they don't have like a software that they integrate with, or they don't even have internet, like how hands-on is that operator? Like what's their conversion rate? Like is it even kind of beneficial?
It's all over the place. Totally depends on the location and the people. So this one that I went to without internet last week, they've got an owner somewhere else who's keeping their listing up to date through My Sparefoot manually, just going in there and, you know, well, they have their prices don't change, their unit availability doesn't really change. They don't have to do a lot, but it's kind of funny. The only way that property was getting notification of reservations coming in was through the Tenant Connect phone calls that were going to the phone line.
They're also faxing their pricing to Chuck.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, faxing.
It happens.
But this person was getting 25 move-ins a month. Wow. So you can have no internet and still succeed on Sparefoot.
Using Sparefoot as the internet gateway, essentially.
Yep.
Right. So you still need the internet, but you don't have to actually physically necessarily have it
Yeah.
in yourself.
Right, but it's just a good example of a, you know, not technologically savvy independent operator
Yeah.
who would otherwise have no internet presence because they're not going to go spend money on a website. They're not going to go do paid search. They're not going to do any of this stuff.
Right.
And just by signing up with Sparefoot, they can get 25 rentals a month, which is a big deal.
Great. All right, well, let's thank you, everybody. Let's wrap up with one final comment from each of you. I think one word to describe sort of the rest of 2015 with the internet and self-storage. And I don't know if that word's, you know, Google Plus, or if it's user reviews, or if it's social media, or if it's move-ins or payments, but some word like that. I want to hear from each of you, just one word, 2015, and we'll conclude today. Nick?
I'd look at mobile.
Customer experience.
I'll go mobile also.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for coming and attending today. And we look forward to our next Internet Council for self-storage. And if anyone has any questions afterward, please feel free to approach all of us. Thank you.